I'm Sir Tap Tap, and let's play Hyperdimension Neptunia U Action Unleashed. A review copy of this game is provided free of charge by Factory International.
Let's do our best.
Sure. This is a Hyperdimension Neptunia spin-off game. I will warn you, there is a clothing damage mechanic. The game's rated T for teen, so it's not too bad, but if you take damage, your clothes partially come off. If I am good at video games, that will not happen. But when have I ever been known to be good at video games? We're just gonna skip the story. Well, there's some parts that might be funny. But yeah, the story is basically Neptunia characters like, hey, actually these magazine characters. Hello, Parker. They're like, oh hey, we're gonna do a magazine story on the main characters here. Hello, Parker.
Now loading.
Parker's come to say hi, and the new characters Dengekiko and Famitsu, who are coincidentally designed after two magazines that are very similar in name. Yes, Parker. Don't knock my monitor off the table, please.
This is important, so remember it.
So, Parker, calm yourself. I can't see. Parker. Okay. Parker is on the floor now. So this is... Shut up, Neptune. Parker, calm down. Would everyone shut up, please? So, no one is shutting up. Okay, so this is an action spin-off of Hyperdimension Neptunia, based off of the Senran and Kagura engine. It's by the same developers. So, if you're not familiar with Senran and Kagura, it is a not quite Muso game, like, you know, the Warriors games from Tecmo Koei. Basically, you beat up tons of enemies that are pretty dumb, and it gives you like this feel of, you know, destroying whole bunches of enemies and being all powerful and stuff. Except there's a cat in your frickin' way while you're trying to play the game. I'm talking to you. You're all mad when I've talked in his face. Okay. Sorry, I just had to get my cat out of my face. This game plays more differently from Senran and Kagura than I expected. The basics are pretty much the same, but there's a few differences in controls. Like, there's no run button. There's still a dash, which is more just for dodging. There is no block button. What else? There are air dashes, but only when you're in HDD mode, which is something we'll see in a little bit here. There's also character switch outs. And what's really cool is that your other character regains health and stuff. Well, just health when they're not active. So it gives you an interesting mechanic where you try to, you know, you can take damage with your front runner character, and then you switch back, and then you know, they get healed and stuff. You also build this EXE drive. Let's switch back to Neptune here, and then you fill the EXE drive meter for the other character first, so it gives you lots of incentive to switch, and it's actually really cool. So now Noir has her gauge half full now, and she can transform, so let's go do that.
Here I come.
Parker, you are not making this easy.
Are you ready?
And once you're transformed, your character is different, and you're more powerful and stuff. And if you're not familiar with the Hyperdimension Neptunia series, this game is a bit harder to recommend since it's more a game for fans of that series. But if you're a fan of the Senran and Kagura games, you're probably pretty much at home in this sort of gameplay. The game plays, like I was saying earlier, the game plays more differently from Senran and Kagura than I was expecting. It also has equipment and stuff. So, Parker, would you please get down? He's the very insistent cat. So there's equipment and, oh, these medals that things are dropping. We can actually unlock more equipment or stat ups and new weapons. just by beating tons of enemies, and they drop medals automatically. And so that's pretty cool. There's also a basic level up system where, you know... Yes, Parker. You know, gain stats from leveling up. Like pretty much any brawler type game with a level up system, it's kind of broken, and it's a bit too significant at the high end. Like, it's pretty easy to end up over leveled, and that's pretty annoying. You know who else is really annoying? It's you. Yes.
You'll be defeated by last station's CPU.
So, Parker, come on, honey.
Are you ignoring me? Let me take point already.
I'm gonna blame that on Parker. I'm gonna blame that on Parker too. Everything that happens, except for the good parts, is Parker's fault. So yeah, the special attacks it has are based off of special attacks in Neptunia. There are a few with different names for no apparent reasons. Kind of weird. The game uses a lot of mechanics from Neptunia games. Also, you can even put on damage numbers that makes it a lot more like the RPGs. Oops. That's the costume break mechanic. You can disable the costume break mechanic. You get these clothes that don't break. You just have to play a little bit to unlock those. Instead, we'll just transform to something kind of more modest over here. So yeah, let's turn off those damage numbers because they're incredibly unsightly. I don't like the HP display either. Oh, let's go over the options here quick. You can individually turn off the characters' voices. I don't dislike anyone except the enemy voices are really annoying, so we're gonna ignore that. There's a partial controller configuration, which I guess is better than nothing. I guess these are pretty much the only ones I could easily remap, because R button is like a hold, you have to press and hold, and remapping the D-pad and analog sticks are troublesome. Lets you do your... You know what's weird? For the vertical camera, normal is inverted, what would normally be considered inverted, so I guess they really like inverted camera. It doesn't really matter. There's also cheats you can unlock by beating the game. I've beaten the game, and if you start a new game, it actually lets you keep the cheats, which is pretty cool. I don't have most of them unlocked. I haven't done most of the post-game content. There's a lot more post-game content than I was expecting in this game. In Senran and Grrr, there really isn't much post-game content usually. Like, you just can play your levels again on harder difficulties or whatever. But in this game, I guess I'll show the post-game content more later, since it's easier to show off like directly instead of talking about it. One thing this game does lack is a difficulty option. Oh, I really like it gives you this gamer rank when you won, which is meaningless, but if you score poorly enough, it gives you the rank of casual gamer, which is great. If you're unfamiliar with the Neptunia series, it's this very self-aware... This is the cutscene where they yell at the game's developers for the costume break mechanic.
Hey, Idea Factory! I thought we had an agreement not to cross this line. What are we supposed to do about this?
Why so antagonistic? We merely need to exit the dungeon and our clothes are magically repaired. I'm not surprised you aren't batting an eye, Bert, but how do you think poor Blonde feels?
Poor Blanc.
Don't drag me into your insecurities! This isn't a big deal. But in worse situations, right?
I guess. It feels like our limits are constantly being tested, though.
This game is a lot more self-aware than most of the other ones, which is saying something.
Must be the unique sales point for this game.
Neptune gets it.
We'll still be strong female leads.
So they make fun of the... It's kind of a standard thing that they'll make fun of whatever's different about the sub-games. They even mention, they bring up at least one of the other sub-games here.
Now loading.
The cutscenes are pretty funny. I'm not gonna watch all of them. Some of them won't really make sense without knowing the characters. Some of them, like this stuff is just setting up the paper-thin plot of the game. The writing is decent, like humor-wise, but like the story is just like there to give you an excuse to go and beat stuff up, which is fine. So yeah, these are the little sister characters. They, the main difference gameplay-wise, for some reason, in HDD mode, yes, go. skip. The little sister characters are mobile while they're attacking with their normal attacks, which is actually pretty useful. Also, if you haven't played the game, these little loading screen tips give you little bits of information about all the characters, so it's, I guess, not a terrible place to start for the series, but I mean, you should probably just start with the RPGs, those are the main games, and do a lot more characterization. There's lots of little jokes and stuff that you won't necessarily get if you haven't played the main games. Boing. I love Nepgear's jump kick, as you might have noticed. Also, her weapon is great. I love the little beam sword, like, whoosh sound effect and stuff. So, a lot of the enemies, I guess you saw the Pac-Man ghosts in the earlier level, probably. Like, a lot of the enemies are references to generic video game enemies or, like, specific popular enemies. Like, there's the Pac-Man ghosts, there's giant horse birds, there's Super Mario Brothers pipes, there's Tetris blocks, and my personal favorite, there are dating sims that are just, like, floating dating sims that you get to beat up. And this is probably the only game series where you get to beat up dating sims. So, that's a pretty strong selling point in my opinion. Oh, excuse me. Oh, one other thing that differentiates this from Senran and Kagura, there's no lock-on. You can press L1 to center towards the nearest enemy here. And actually, if you're using a melee weapon, like, I'm not moving my control stick at all here. You just sort of auto-home in a little bit. I actually didn't notice this for the longest time. It's pretty subtle. If you're not moving the control stick, you just sort of auto-home in like that. It's not ridiculous. And for some reason, let's try Uni. Your characters that have actual range attacks don't seem to really do that. Like, let's get over here. Oh, I guess she does kind of very slowly switch aim. Oh yeah, I like Uni's attacks. They actually gave her a little bit of variety in attacks. Like, her normal game skills are all just, you know, you use a gun, so you're just gonna shoot your gun. But we actually have some kicks and stuff here. And I like this one here. This sort of kick up and shoot. Let's get a better angle of that. It's hard to see, but you actually kick them up in the air and you, like, actually hit them with the shot. Oh right, I keep forgetting to use the special attacks. So we have these special attacks, and you can pick which button your special attacks go on. I'll show that off later. There's a bit more customization in that than Senran and Kagura. And one thing I really like about how the special skills work out is that in Senran and Kagura you have level 1, you have level 2, and you have level 5 supers. The level 5 supers, as you might expect, are almost never worth it, and are just pretty much a complete waste of your ninpo. And it takes a ton of time to even build them up. And in Shinobi Versus, it actually required you to be at low health to even use them too, which is makes them extremely not useful. In this game, pretty much all of the skills seem more or less worth the amount of SP they cost. And there aren't the ridiculous, incredibly expensive skills. The most expensive skills are level 3, I'm pretty sure. Like I was saying earlier, with the younger sisters, you can move around while attacking in HDD form, which is really nice. It's more useful for big groups than it is for bosses. The only side effect is that, at least for Uni, it ends up being pretty spammy and less visually interesting. I promise you I'm doing damage, but some of the bosses seem to take a really long time when you don't have the health bar to see, like, oh hey, I'm actually dealing damage. Oh, I guess it has the damage counter on the left too. I always ignore that. There are actually a few quests where you do need to watch that, because there are certain irregular conditions where you have to figure out what the goal of the quest is. So, like, sometimes the enemy will only be vulnerable when you're in HDD form, or you have to do weird stuff. Parker, please get down.
Now loading.
Parker. Parker. Oh, whatever. This is the candidate that's yelling at you for the costume break mechanic. Which we didn't even see on you, so why are you getting grumpy? Jeez. But yeah, if you don't want to see the fan service, it's really just the costume break. There's no inappropriate CG images in this one. Some people complain about that in the normal games. Yeah, intro, we don't really need to see in the intro. The intro isn't bad. It uses the in-game models from the prior games, but it gives this weird, like, realistic lighting effect that looks kind of weird. Like, they look like clay models instead of anime, which is weird. Parker.
I can't ignore that.
Okay.
Oh. So let's explain the menu here. Parker, your tail is in my face, buddy. Parker. Would you like to get on the floor, Parker? Yes, you would. Alright. So,
Yes.
one thing is you can change the menu, the title or the menu, yes, music here. And the music selection is mostly from other games. There is some unique tracks, and the unique tracks are pretty good. It also picks some pretty good tracks from the other games. The City Watch is where we'll see some optional events here. They are missable, but they only show up in the City Watch thing, and they always have a new thingy on it. So you'd have to like deliberately be trying to miss things to miss any of the missables. So like here's the Lean Box one. Come on. The loading isn't too bad, but it's definitely present. Oops, the skip was on. Yeah, Neptune is adept at sleeping while awake. Or not
You're
awake.
nodding off mid-sentence.
But whatever. The humor's pretty decent, but we don't need to see it all. Most of these are just little skits. They do in one chapter they do unlock quests. So if you're a completionist, you definitely want to see those, even if you like are an absolute monster and have no sense of humor. You can also go here and set up your equipment. There are unfortunately only these simple palette swaps for the clothing. There's no unlockable outfits or anything. You unlock equipment and stuff too. One really cool thing about this is that it finally lets you change your hairstyle and your outfit separately. Like personally, I actually kind of like the monochrome hoodie, but Neptune looks really weird with silver hair. So now you can finally pick just her normal hair with the weird clothing. So that's nice. This is also where you equip the unbreakable clothing. We haven't unlocked it yet. But we're only going to play a couple more levels anyway. You can also check out your command list here. Commands aren't super complicated, but like it's pretty much just like Senran and Kagura style stuff, because it's, you know, made by the same people and all that stuff. But everyone has a fairly different, or at least a decently different playstyle, and I really like using pretty much everyone. My one complaint about the movesets is that Ram and Ram, the twin sisters, are once again a bit too similar. Like, I guess that's kind of their gimmick for being twin sisters, but it's still kind of boring. They're not exact clones or anything, but they work out fairly similar. They even have like 2 of the exact same SP skills, which is dumb. Also, Famitsu is great. She has this giant shrimp. That's why she's great. Just that specifically. Oh, and here's the Space Invaders and Mario Pipes. The bosses are great. So, and the Neptunia games have a sort of problem where they have these human characters that aren't CPUs. I guess I should have explained that much earlier. The CPUs are like personifications of game consoles. So like Neptune is Sega, Noir is PlayStation, Vert is Xbox, Blanc is Wii, and Famitsu and Dengeki are just their magazine companies. So a problem in the other games is that the non-game console characters don't have a transformation state, and they usually have less skills and stuff, so they generally just kind of are way weaker than anyone else, and that kind of sucks. But in this game, you unlock this transformation state that you can use.
That was only a time trial.
For some reason I can use it in this mission, which is where you're supposed to actually, like, story-wise, this is where you actually get it. But that's fine. So yeah, you actually are pretty much on par with the main characters with the side characters, so that's really nice because too often your normal human characters are too weak and you're at a disadvantage for using them, but it's really nice to be able to just use the cool new characters and not worry about that. So Dengekiko and Famitsu play pretty much like anyone else and are pretty decent. A couple odd things about the localization, like, for some reason when you don't have a skill command, it says not use. Like, I'm not sure how things like that slip by. Like, the weird thing about Idea Factory International, they're not bad, but they just mix a few simple things. I should probably stop being hit right now.
More to come in the next issue.
And then there's like this 208 clash. That's how many enemies you defeated. I'm not sure why it's clash. Like, that's kind of weird. And then there's the defeat everything line she's got here. I don't know, it just seems weird. But the localization's generally pretty great. It's all voiced except there's this one post-game scene with IF and Kampa. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be voiced or not. Even if you switch to Japanese voices, it's not voiced. But I'm not sure if it was voiced in the original one or like in the Japanese release or not. And like they just didn't like get the licensing for that, or I'm not sure what the deal is there. Oh, I almost forgot. There's this viewer mode here. Unfortunate angle here for this. There we go. It's basically PS4 style photo mode in a Vita game, which is pretty sweet. I guess I should have mentioned that. This is a PlayStation Vita game. It plays on PS TV as well, which you can buy for like 70 bucks on Amazon. And I do recommend if you know which games you want and what pretty much any recent Vita game is supported on PS TV. That's what I'm playing on right now because it's so much easier and cheaper to record on. So yeah, the photo mode thing is really cool. It does have some issues, like if your certain skills zoom out the camera, and then you can't zoom in as far anymore in the camera mode. And so I would appreciate more control over the camera.
On to my next report.
The environments are fairly simple, and a lot of them are just the environments from the RPG games. But it's still cool to be able to take screenshots. The one unfortunate thing is that lots of the attacks like spawn tons of crazy special effects, so it can be pretty hard to take some badass photos if you're trying, like if you're seeing all these stupid effects. But I don't know. I guess lots of people probably won't use it that much, but I personally love taking photos in pretty much any game that I don't hate. Like, in the order, I'm pretty sure I spent more time taking photos than I spent actually playing the game. Same deal with The Last of Us Remastered. I just love that photo mode, and I wish, like, almost every game had it. Drive Club's really good with that, too. It'd be cool to start seeing it more common. And I wish Estival Versus had this kind of photo mode. Estival Versus has an interesting photo mode where you basically set up your own diorama and move around your camera and stuff, but you can't use, like, there's no camera mode for, like, in normal gameplay, and that is what I prefer. I don't like setting up shots and stuff. I just like being like, oh hey, I'm hitting this guy in the face, so I'll, you know, get us a cool shot here and be like, hey, yay. Like, I just like to take cool shots of in-gameplay stuff because I don't really like all the fuss of setting things up. So I'm kind of surprised this game has that feature, but Estival Versus didn't. Estival Versus is really good, by the way. It's not out in the US yet, but I got an import copy because I had to have those figures. Oh! I didn't even, I actually got a new, the Neptune Nendoroid today. Literally today. I've been trying to get that thing for freaking months. I'm a big fan, and there's this Nendoroid that was exclusive to one of the DVD runs, and it's been kind of an ordeal to actually get it. Mostly due to bad luck. Like, it's not incredibly rare, it's just I had terrible luck, which is not uncommon. So, as far as the general quality of this game, I would personally say it's the best of the Neptunia side games. I almost died. I didn't even notice that. You take damage pretty quickly in this game. The enemies are dumb, and they don't attack often, but that sort of is counterbalanced by the fact that when they do attack, it tends to hurt a lot. Especially if you're under-leveled, you can get knocked out in like a couple of hits, or even one hit if you're extremely under-leveled. And actually a lot of the post-game content is basically based around you never being hit. And it's kind of possible due to, you can just manage the hit stun, or just dodge really well. And you should be able to avoid getting hit. It's not like crazy easy to never be hit, but it's certainly possible. Oh yeah, back to general quality. So, like I said, probably the best spin-off gameplay-wise. It has less dialogue than pretty much any of the other Neptunia games. The combat's fully voiced, as I'm sure you've noticed. Oops. What was I talking about? The story is, you know, as minimal as it could be, which isn't really a big deal. But the actual gameplay is really fun. That was a problem with Neptunia PP, the idle game. Pretty much only worth it for humor, in my opinion. The actual life sim aspect, ugh. I mean, I don't like life sims in general, but it was a fairly poor one on top of that. I guess I should transform. The Noir SRPG, it's not bad, but I don't know, it's not the best SRPG I've played. Sting has this bad habit of they'll make mostly good SRPGs and then they have some weird mechanic that kind of destroys everything. And I'm still mad at them for Yggdra Union because that game is probably the worst amount of missables that I've ever seen in any game. Like, pretty ridiculous. I guess I can't judge the Noir game too harshly though because I haven't beat it. I've only gotten a couple chapters in, but it has like major nasty missable stuff. Which seems to be a Sting thing. But it has tons of cool new characters too. This game just has the 2 new characters, but I like both of them. A nice touch is that Dengekiko's bears actually changes facial expression when she does. Oh, I love this.
Hardly, but I cannot.
Vert's so thirsty for Nepgear. It's kind of ridiculous.
But I dislike Blonde despises us making noise in the wee. So
aw, we missed the funny part. Vert snuck into their house. She's totally not creepy. It's fine. I do encourage you to actually watch the cutscenes. Like, they're pretty funny. But, I just never know what to do when there's voiced cutscenes in a game, because I'm like, I can't talk over this.
The magazine sales were so amazing that we've been asked to write a
No, skip. Why do you know skip? Oh, actually, I should mention the dialogue system. The game has a visual novel style dialogue system, so you can go to this backlog, and you can replay stuff.
Could you hear us out for a moment?
And you can actually go a really long way back in the backlog.
I mean CPUs, people, monsters, eggplant. Ask for both.
You can skip only stuff that you've read. And the cool thing about the skip read is that it knows what you've read in prior.
Thank you so much.
Hush.
My
Stop.
pleasure. I should thank you for helping
It knows
me
what you've read in other save files on the same system. So you can like replay, and if there were missable things, you would only hear when there was like something you missed before. There's also the plain old skip all, and you can pause it. I guess visual novels should be expected to have this sort of stuff, but I really enjoy like non-visual novels having this sort of control. Like, I wish every JRPG at the bare minimum, had something like this, because the text could be a massive, massive pain in the butt. And also, what was it? Cherry Tree High? I was playing, well, trying to play a visual novel on PC the other day, and it doesn't have this sort of visual novel style control. Like, you just had to mash buttons like it was some sort of Final Fantasy game that doesn't have proper text options, and it was very unpleasant. The structure of this game is very open. It basically just we've basically gone through the tutorial now, and we have access to all of the characters. We can play almost any of these quests with any characters. There are a rare few that, let's see if we have any. A few quests actually say, hey, no, you need to use certain characters. I guess we don't have any here. But no, you can just be like, oh, hey, I want to be Vert and Uni for some reason, because that completely makes sense.
Please try to comprehend the information presented.
Oh, my favorite loading screen thing is that Noir insults the loading screen tips. I don't think we've got to see that. But there's lots of personality they inject in there, which is not surprising. That's something both Neptunia and Senna and Kagura do really well, so that's not surprising. But yeah, if you are interested in Neptunia, I would definitely check this out. Best of the sub-games so far. I would pretty much put it on par, or maybe better than Senna and Kagura Shinobi Versus. It's a little hard to compare since they're kind of different. Like, this game is based more on beating up hordes of enemies and stuff. It has less characters, but honestly, I like the Neptunia characters more than most of the Senna and Kagura characters. Not that they're bad. And it's less focused on the fan service than Senna and Kagura, because there are very few things less focused, or more focused on fan service than Senna and Kagura. But it does have a CPU versus CPU one-on-one mode. It's not balanced very well, because the game isn't really designed for that, unlike Senna and Kagura. Also, that's one of the skills that's renamed for some reason. Canestra Dance. It's Canestra Slash in the normal games. But doesn't really matter. I don't think it's a mistranslation. It's a little different from the normal attack, so maybe they just renamed it to differentiate it from the RPG attack. Oh, I really like that Vert has this sort of 1-2 combo with her triangle attacks here. You can sort of, well, you do the thing that I'm spamming. Like, it has a 1-2 punch sort of deal. You don't use a spear, Uni. You literally can't do that. Whatever. What else did I want to talk about? Oh yeah, for the post-game content, like I said, a lot of it is focused on not taking many hits and one-on-one stuff. Like, there's a bunch of quests that are single-character quests. The single-character ones are actually really simple and not very interesting. And they're also low-level. Calm down, Vert. So, why do I keep saying So I mean, a general problem with RPG brawlers is that there's this incredibly tiny sweet spot where the game is difficult but not, like, ridiculously impossible, and also not completely ridiculously easy. And if you level too fast, you just end up permanently way too easy, and that sucks. And once you beat this game, a lot of the main story quests are too easy now, and there's no hard mode. You can equip certain equipment that, like, there's stuff that reduces your defense for more attack. There's one piece of equipment that just sets you down to level 1, which is just kind of suicide and makes combat take forever. So it's not really a hard mode, it's just a I hate myself mode. So let's kill these people with Vert here. See, I would appreciate difficulty modes, and I'm really surprised the game doesn't have them, because Senna and Kagura does. Senna and Kagura's difficulty modes aren't very good, but they're better than nothing. I kind of wish games like this would let you level up and gain more abilities, but not better stats. So you could just balance everything based on, well, actually balance it, because it's kind of impossible to balance this unless you balance for the either the absolute maximum of stats, which mean you have to grind, or you balance it for reasonable stats, but then it's possible to overgrind and everything's too easy. And neither of those is a very acceptable situation. And for the other post-game content, so there's the one-on-one gauntlet. One problem with the one-on-one gauntlet, it has 3 difficulty modes, unlike the main game. One is an instant kill on the enemy, basically, and just makes it incredibly ridiculously easy. There's one mode that is basically one-hit kill on you, and makes it pretty difficult, but still possible. And then the normal mode, it takes quite a beating to defeat the enemies, but oops. See, like I said, you take damage really fast. So, the enemies don't attack often, but when they do, it's a pretty big deal. But yeah, in the one-on-one mode, in the normal difficulty, basically they have tons of health and you have very little health. So it really does focus on you not taking damage, which is quite easy against the normal enemies, but when you're fighting other, player characters, it's quite a bit harder. But as an extra mode, it's not bad. I would have been frustrated if it was like a required part of the main game, because it's not as fun as Zelda and Grrr is when fighting the normal human peoples. And then the final bit of post-game content is the Neptunia Tower, which is like a Pit of 100 Trials thing. I'm not sure how many levels it actually has. I don't think it's 100. But it's like it's a bunch of new challenges to face, and it actually has unique areas and unique enemies, which I was not expecting. So that's actually pretty cool that they actually bothered to do, like, above and beyond actually putting new stuff in there. Especially since asset reuse is kind of a problem in these games. I guess that's pretty much all the content we've gone over. The game, it's not, like, ridiculously infinitely long like lots of Muso games. It took me a little under 20 hours to beat it. The post-game content, I have no idea how long with that. Oh crap, I should have saved. Well, whatever, I'm never gonna come back to this file again. Yeah, here are the post-game thingies. There's lots of dialogue that mocks the fact that it's a game. What was I talking about? That's not what I was talking about, Parker. You're drunk. You don't know anything. You're a cat. So yeah, this is the tower thing. Like, maybe there's just 10 levels? And so yeah, you want to beat it with all your... Parker! That's my drink. You want to beat it with all of your characters, so that's 5 runs through, I think, because you can bring 2 at once, and there's 10 characters. I guess I'll show you a one-on-one fight. I'll probably die, but whatever.
Neptunia U Action Unleashed. What a harsh tournament.
Oops.
Based on who's behind it, not surprised.
Oh, there's also dual voice, like all of the Neptunia things, if you prefer that. I do not prefer that, obviously. Oh, one thing, the performance is pretty solid. It's a pretty much solid 30 at all times. But the graphics are kind of... There's like lots of lower res and compressed textures. And it's kind of surprising because the game's only like 1.5 gigs, I think. It seems fairly small, but I guess since it's for a portable console, you kind of want it not too big. But that's sort of annoying. And I got kind of used to Estival Versus, which has really nice, clean textures. Finally, Estival Versus had, or Shinobi Versus. They need to stop making up words. Actually, Estival is not a made-up word. I was surprised at that. It's just a weird word. Oh crap. Don't kill me. Why is that not killing me? Oh well. Stop that! Oh, that's you. That's fine. Whatever. But yeah, The graphics can be sort of lower res. It's not usually visible in normal gameplay, but if we like use the viewer and zoom in here, like the swords textures here aren't super impressive. But in normal gameplay, it's fine. The game also looks a little jaggier on PS Vita TV since it's upscaling to 720p. The Vita's actually like 544 or something p. So it looks pretty crisp on an actual Vita. Just a little bit pointier or whatever on a Vita TV, but it's not too bad. I usually play it on the Vita TV. It's sort of like the difference between a 3DS and a 3DS XL. Would you stop that, please?
My time is up. You're critical edge. Ow!
No idea how much health you have. That's for these big boss fights. You kind of want the actual health display on. But then again, you just kind of want to beat them up until they stop moving, so it doesn't really matter. Ow. And some of their attacks are insanely high damage, and some of them don't seem to do much damage at all. I'm not sure what the deal is with that, like, if that's them using, like, SP skills or something. I don't think that was an SP skill that took, like, half my health just now. But as you can see, it takes quite a lot of damage to take them down, and it only takes a few hits of their actual decent attacks to take me down. Ah, see, there we go. Oh well. Oh, and there's no game overs or anything. You can just immediately continue or quit back to the menu. Yes, I know I lost. Go away. So no progress lost or anything. So it's a pretty nice stressless game.
Now loading.
But yeah, that is Hyperdimension Neptunia U. Aw, poor Neptune.